All right, Kitty Schwinkles. This story is called The Jungle Book. Have you ever heard of it before?
Yes.
It's scary for little boys. Not too scary for you though, Gabe?
Nope.
This story begins long ago, deep in the jungle. One sec here. Let's put this up here. Above our heads. There we go. Story begins long ago, deep in the jungle. One day, Bagheera, the panther, heard a strange sound coming from the river. When he went to see what it was, he found a basket. And in the basket, he found... Hold on. When he went to see what it was, he found a basket in a broken little boat. And inside the basket was a tiny baby boy crying. "Why, it's a man cub," said Bagheera. "I can save it from the river, but it needs food and a mother to take care of it." And who could do that? Then Bagheera remembered that there was a family of wolves nearby who had recently had a litter of cubs. He picked the basket up in his mouth and carried it to the wolves' den. Oh, he's a nice panther. Just as Bagheera hoped, the wolves took the man cub in. Mother and father wolf loved him as though he was their own. And the boy, whom they called Mowgli, grew up safe and happy with the other cubs. But when Mowgli was 10 years old, everything changed. Shere Khan, the fierce tiger, heard about the man cub and came searching for him. Shere Khan hated humans. He was determined to kill Mowgli. The wolf pack held a meeting, and they decided that for his own good and for the safety of the pack, Mowgli would have to leave. Bagheera offered to take him at once to the man village just beyond the jungle. Mowgli was angry and upset. "Why do I have to go and leave the jungle?" he asked. "I'm not afraid of the tiger, and the jungle is my home too." Bagheera tried to explain that Shere Khan would soon come to find him, and the wolves and the panthers would not be strong enough to protect him. But Mowgli insisted that he could look after himself. At last, after much argument, they set off with Mowgli riding on Bagheera's back. As darkness fell, they stopped at the foot of a tall tree. "We'll spend the night here," Bagheera said, helping Mowgli to climb up the high branch. When they reached a suitable spot, Bagheera yawned and quickly fell asleep, but Mowgli sat glumly at his side. Suddenly something slithered along the branch towards him. "What's this?" hissed Kaa the snake. "It's a man cub." Staring into Mowgli's eyes, Kaa soon was hypnotizing the boy. Kaa began to wrap himself around Mowgli's body, squeezing harder and harder. "What a delicious supper, this man cub!" the snake exclaimed, opening his jaws wide. At that very moment, Bagheera woke up and saw what was happening, and with a swift blow of his paw, he sent the snake thudding to the ground. "I hope that taught you a lesson," Bagheera said to Mowgli. "You see, you cannot survive alone in the jungle. In the morning, you must come with me to the man village. But let's sleep now." At first light, Mowgli was awakened by the thundering, crashing noise. It was Colonel Hathie's troop of elephants marching through the jungle on their dawn patrol. Mowgli was delighted. He scrambled down to join them, and he fell into line with the elephants and tried to copy everything they did. Is this boring?
No.
Colonel Hathie was furious when he discovered that Mowgli was marching with the herd. "A man cub?" he bellowed. grasping at Mowgli with his trunk and lifting him up into the air. "This is treason! I'll have no man cub in my jungle!" Before Mowgli could explain why he was there, Bagheera bounded up beside the Colonel. It's all right, Hathi," the Panther said. "He won't be here for much longer." "Colonel Hathi, if you please, sir." Colonel Hathi, if you please, sir," answered the elephant. "Yes, Colonel Hathi," Bagheera went on. "The man-cub is with me, and I am taking him to the man village." "To stay?" asked Colonel Hathi with a suspicious look. Bagheera nodded. Mowgli was not at all grateful for Bagheera's help. "I don't need your protection," he shouted, "and I'm not going any further with you." He grabbed hold of a nearby tree and held it. Oh dear. "You're coming with me whether you like it or not," Bagheera said, tugging at Mowgli's clothing, but the boy would not budge. "All right, have it your own way," said Bagheera at last, and he stalked away, leaving Mowgli alone. Mowgli wasn't by himself for long. You see, a big, jolly bear called Baloo so ambled by and made friends with him. "Stick by me, you old kitty," he told Mowgli. "I'll teach you how to survive in the jungle." He showed Mowgli how to walk like a bear, growl like a bear, and even scratch like a bear, though Mowgli was better at tickling. "You're much more fun than Bagheera," Mowgli laughed. Poor Bagheera, hey? He's just trying to help him. Later that afternoon, Baloo and Mowgli were drifting lazily down the river, and Mowgli rode on Baloo's stomach, and Baloo had closed his eyes, as if about to go to sleep. But neither of them took any notice of the monkeys swinging through the branches above. But the monkeys were very interested in them. As Mowgli and Baloo floated past, one of the monkeys reached down and grabbed the boy's leg. A second later, another monkey took Mowgli's place on top of Baloo. Hey, let go of me!" shouted Mowgli, as another monkey lifted him up in the air. Baloo opened his eyes at once and tossed the new passenger off into the water. "Take your hands off my cub!" roared the bear, shaking his paw at the monkeys, but they just laughed. "Baloo, help! They're taking me away!" Mowgli cried, but before Baloo could do anything, the monkeys pelted him with fruit and knocked him flat on his back. The bear lay stunned for a minute, then he shouted, "Help, Bagheera! Help!" From deep in the jungle, Bagheera heard the cry and raced immediately to the rescue. "All right," he said to Baloo. "What happened? Where's Mowgli?" "Those mangy monkeys carried him off," Baloo answered. "I suspect they're taking him to meet the king of theirs," cried Bagheera. Bagheera was right. The monkeys had taken Mowgli to their leader, King Louie. The Monkey King loved to sing and dance, and he soon had Mowgli joined in. "We can be good friends, man-cub," said King Louie. "I'll help you stay in the jungle if you do something for me. Teach me the secret of fire." "I don't know how to make fire," said Mowgli. But King Louie didn't believe him, and he picked up Mowgli and began to sing him around faster and faster. This time Baloo and Bagheera had arrived and were watching from behind a wall. "You distract King Louie," Bagheera said to Baloo, "and I'll rescue Mowgli." Using coconut shells and leaves, Baloo disguised himself as a female monkey. King Louie danced right over to him and left Mowgli alone, giving Bagheera the chance to snatch the boy safely. In his excitement, King Louie knocked down one of the columns holding up the temple. Baloo and Bagheera and Mowgli raced away as the ruins came crashing down. Late that night, exhausted from the day's adventures, the three friends rested while Mowgli slept. Baloo and Bagheera talked about this future. "The man cub must go to the man village," said Bagheera. "The jungle is not a place for him. Shere Khan is looking for him." "But why?" asked Baloo. What does he have against little Mowgli?" "Shere Khan fears man's guns, and he fears man's fire," said Bagheera. "He wants to get rid of Mowgli now, while he is still young and helpless. The only place where Mowgli will be safe is in the man village. You will have to take him there." "Me?" exclaimed Baloo. "Why me?" "Because he trusts you," Bagheera explained, "and he will go with you. Let's sleep now, it's getting late."
Look,
Yeah.
that's your cone. No, it isn't. What is? Or is it the whole?